We're talking about Psalms, and we're diving into another Psalm of David. This is Psalm 11. And again, David's in trouble. And there's a lot of great Psalms that deal with what do you do when you're facing trouble. So if you're dealing with any kind of trouble in your life right now, and most of us are on some level, you have come to the right place. Psalm 11. And today what I want to do is just take a minute and read the 7 verses of the Psalm. It's a short Psalm. We just came through 9 and 10, which went together. And we don't really know the historical background, but David was often in trouble. There are 2 big times in his life where he went through long seasons of trouble. The one is when he was basically forced to flee from the pursuits of Saul, and he was in hiding for a long season, and God spared him and brought him to the throne. And then much later in his life, with his son Absalom revolting against him and trying to sort of take over the kingdom. And so those are the 2 times that scholars think that David wrote most of these Psalms, these seasons of hardship. But there could have been other seasons that we're not aware of, or that he was dealing with difficulty. And so Psalm 11 fits one of those seasons. Let's read it together. To the chief musician, a Psalm of David. In the Lord put I my trust. How say ye to my soul, flee as a bird to your mountain? For lo, the wicked bend their bow. They make ready their arrow upon the string, that they may privily shoot at the upright in heart. If the foundations be destroyed, what can the righteous do? The Lord is in his holy temple. New paragraph, by the way. The Lord is in his holy temple. The Lord's throne is in heaven. His eyes behold, his eyelids try the children of men. The Lord trieth the righteous, but the wicked, and him that loveth violence, his soul hateth. Upon the wicked he shall rain snares, fire, and brimstone, and an horrible tempest. This shall be the portion of their cup. For the righteous Lord loveth righteousness. His countenance doth behold the upright. Now, if I were coming to this psalm at first glance, not knowing God, not knowing his heart, not knowing how to know him even, not knowing how to find grace in his sight, the natural question this psalm raises is simply this: is God for me or against me? Where do I stand with God? Am I among those that he calls righteous, that he tries the righteous, or am I among those that he calls wicked? Am I righteous in God's sight, in God's reckoning, or am I wicked in God's sight and God's reckoning? And I want to answer that question over the next 2 days because it's not quite what we assume. Religion and the world tells us that this is differentiated based upon our behavior. The problem with that is the Bible tells us we've all sinned. We've all fallen short of the glory of God. So if this is based on my behavior, then I have a real problem, okay? And you do too. But David is approaching this from a different vantage point. And we want to learn what is that vantage point because it gives us the understanding of how we even read a psalm like this. And how do we apply it to our lives? How do we find ourselves in a story like this? Okay? And it all begins in verse 1. Here's the key to the puzzle. In the Lord put I my trust. The Bible says in multiple places, the just shall live by faith. Those that are justified with God, those that are exonerated with God, they arrive there, they come into relationship with God by faith, not by behavior. So while on planet Earth, we differentiate the good guys from the bad guys based on behavior, God does not do that. That is not the currency. That is not the standard by which he measures us. He measures us by on a different system of evaluation. His system is not a performance-based system. It's a grace-based system, and it's a trust-based system. So I'm just going to plant those seeds right now in your heart and mind because, again, the natural question is, where do I stand with God? As we read a passage like this, where do I stand? And to give you a little bit of a sneak peek, before we know God, we all stand in the position of the wicked. Once we come to God in trust, we can all equally stand in the position of the righteous. And really, where you place your faith and trust is what determines how God evaluates you. So my friend, you may come to this psalm, like I do, with a history of guilt, of breaking and violating God's laws and commands. We all do. But I want you to think about this for a moment. David had too. David had committed the same sins that you and I commit. He had the same struggles that we had. And yet, he had a relationship with God. And so often, the Psalms are David running to God in trouble rather than letting trouble cause him to run from God or separate him from God. No, his troubles caused him to run to God. Great start today. The idea of where do we stand with God? The idea of running to God with our troubles. This is David running to God with his troubles. And what he expounds to us can place us, can give us the keys to surviving a really difficult day, and can ground us in very substantial ways. 7 verses, a short psalm, but it'll be a good journey. So hey, we just got our start today. We'll pick it up here tomorrow. Thanks for joining me. That is enough for today. And I look forward to connecting with you tomorrow. Share this with somebody. Maybe they'll take the journey through Psalm 11 with us as we discover what verse 1 says. In the Lord put I my trust. What happens when you start there in life? Have a great Wednesday. See you at church tonight, hopefully in groups. And if not, I'll see you tomorrow.